Okay. Oh, what's up, everybody? How's it going? This is Jordan here. Um, and these are the Obwalds. Say hello, Obwalds.
Hello,
Good
everyone.
morning.
Morning.
Yay. So, Dave's a dear friend of mine. Erin is his wife. Introduce your guys' family. Say how
I'm not a
many,
friend, Jordan.
huh?
No.
You are a friend. You are my sister in Christ.
There we go.
And
Mhm.
yeah. Dave, what do you do at the well? And then, Erin, what do you do? And how old are your kids and whatnot?
Yeah, for
Tell us
sure.
about your family.
Yeah. So Dave Obwald at the well. So I'm coming up on 11 years on staff at the well. Done a number of different things, but in the last 4 or 5 years, been able to be a part of pastoral care and counseling, and a lot of what I do has to do with our regeneration groups, and then working with our counseling center, and then thinking about kind of life group communities now and what that looks like. So that's what I do at the well.
Not sure why I'm giggling, but
It's a good
there
time.
you go. Wait, it's just a good time.
And then my wife does everything, so she can share a little bit about herself.
So what I do currently, I'm a program manager for a nonprofit that actually works with Fresno Unified. So that's a little bit up in the air right now. And homeschool our two youngest children currently, both in first grade, 8 years old and about to be 7. And then our 3 older kids are at Fresno Christian, and they are 16, he's a junior, 15 freshman, and 13 eighth grader.
Oh, you passed the quiz, the age quiz.
I might not have asked the question.
Yeah, they're around this tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, you guys are one of those like sort of, I would say ninja level homeschool families,
Mm.
and which mean that you got skills and that you've been doing this for a while. So we'll ask some questions about that. But first, I just want to know sort of a general idea of like what this season has been like for your family, what's been unexpected, the good and the bad, everything like that.
Yeah.
Me?
You go for it.
So we we're a really busy family with 5 children. Even if they all do one activity, that's 5 extra, places to be. And so we went into this time of pandemic and quarantine very busy, and kind of in transition with most of them from one sport to the other. And so we had a little break, which was like, oh, okay, good. Like, let's take a breather, and then the next sport's going to start up. And so, we had kind of been shifting gears into that. And now to have all of those things canceled has obviously been very different time-wise. I think one of the best parts of it is that we see each other obviously a lot more. We make a big point of this year in particular of doing Sunday night family time and family dinners, where we really try to not have anything get in the way of that, and we say no to things because of that, to kind of preserve that family time. Having the older children, actually the high schoolers, you think when they're little you're just exhausted and they need stuff all the time. Well, when they're high schoolers and they don't drive yet, oh my goodness, they require a whole different level of time from us. And so on a normal weekday I drive every 15 minutes from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., like, honestly. And so with all those things being canceled, we take family walks every night, and really try to make a point of doing things together. We do have time where having introverts and extroverts and everyone in between, like, we all need our space. So Dave and I figured out how to kind of get that a little bit for ourselves, but yeah, just really making a point of doing stuff together that's silly and that's fun, and nothing's been like really out of the extraordinary. Like, we kind of reserve those already for family night on Sundays, where the person gets to plan the evening and plan a game and an activity, whatever. So the weeknights right now are board games and family walks, and what else we watch. We, like, when the little ones go to bed, we watch a show. You know, we've been watching a series with our older kids, like 1 episode a night or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of what our, you know, lots of school during the day and evenings family time, which we weren't used to getting. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
is there
think it's
any,
good. Oh, go ahead. No. Yeah.
well, yeah, I'd like to hear from you too, Dave.
Oh, no, I'll just say, yeah, I think to Erin's point, I mean, I think it just created a great opportunity, you know? And so I think I'm thankful that we a while ago felt like that need to establish Sabbath and like family night. And so I think that has been a cool thing to like almost feel in the rest of the week. I think that the fun part has been to watch the kids kind of linger at dinner now a little bit. You know, we do every once in a while, we'll throw out, like, I have this thing on the table. We do a quote jar every once in a while where there's just a bunch of quotes that I've thrown in a jar on the table. And so now there's just time, or we'll show like a project video and I'll talk about it. And there's just space. Like no one has to go anywhere. And so there's just more opportunity. And I have to be careful because I'm like Mr. Intentional. Like I want to do something, and Erin laughs. Like I want to do something intentional like every night. And so
do that every meal.
Erin nudges me and she's like, just like, have fun tonight. Like just hang out. Like let's laugh. Let's tell some jokes. Let's watch a Dude Perfect video or some, you know, something else. And so I think we're a good balance of like trying not to like, our kids don't want to do something intentional every night, you know, like, and so I have to be careful to not try to make every night this meaningful family night devotional time.
Every
and
night
so
is a teaching moment.
every night's a teaching moment. And so that's been a good balance, because I can tell when we tip too far that way and they're like glossy eyed and like, oh, here's dad again talking about things. And so,
but we do like high-low, buffalo, you know, sharing, and just everyone gets to share.
Yeah.
And when we're not all together, you don't maybe know that that person had this really hard thing that day, or this really great thing, or they, you know, one of the intentional things we're trying to do with this time is reaching out to other people, and being mindful that, you know, maybe our circumstance is fine and is pretty good. We have a lot of family around, and you know, our jobs are currently stable, and you know, things like that, but a lot of people don't. And so really trying also to keep that in front of their minds of, this isn't just like a break, like this is a lot of people around the world are really struggling, you know. And so just trying to keep that in front of them too, and just really intentionally praying and just asking the Lord, what can we do in our spot of, you know, our average day is like, oh, this is a pretty good day, like that was fine, you know, but seeing how we can take that and translate it into helping other people who their average day is like a 2, maybe, you know. So not just taking it as a pass, you know, not just taking it as a, well, that was weird, you know, but there's a really big reason why, you know, literally the whole world is turned upside down right now. So
yeah. What do you feel like the transition's been like for your kids? Do you feel like what's been difficult? And I mean, are they have they shown any resistance to sort of that like time together? Is there any sort of like frustration, or is anybody at each other's necks, things like that?
I think so. This would be like coming on to the 3rd week of no school and no activities. So I think it's definitely gone through the stages of like, initially was like, oh my gosh, you know, like we're all home, and the schools are trying to figure out, so they didn't have a lot of that rigor, you know, like a lot of stuff like that to take up their time. A little bit novel still. And then the 2nd week was like, this really sucks. And I got a lot of homework, and, you know, I would say some of the older kids are just like, oh, I don't get to see my friends, and, you know, just really feeling that loss. But I would say this week has been, I feel like this 3rd week, we've gotten into a pretty good rhythm. One change we made that was like an unexpected, you know, pandemic produced this change is, for our kids and our family, we just say like in 9th grade, you're going to get a phone. And so we have an 11th grader, a 9th grader, and an 8th grader who didn't yet have a phone and who's very social, and not seeing her friends and not being in her regular rhythm of like in a sport and, you know, all these things to do was really, it was hard. It was a lonely, you know, the older 2 had that option. They could FaceTime their friends and they could Zoom or text or whatever. And so just really feeling like, you know what, we need to consider. And she actually brought it up and said, I don't know if I should ask you this, that how they kind of tiptoe around. And I'm like, just ask, what is it, and us trying to receive them well with things, and growing in that, hopefully. But just her saying like, can I get it early? And those kind of things. It was like, you know what, that really makes sense right now. Like, you're really isolated, and that's not how God designed you. And so I think even that, just knowing our children, knowing the different ones of them, and seeing like, this is a really strange, unprecedented time, and how can we support them in the different ways that God made them? Where our older son is like, this is pretty cool. Like, he kind of doesn't come out of the chair, like he's pretty chill over there. And for him, it's like, okay, you must go outside. Like, that's your requirement, where the other one who's real active is outside, And so kind of just that whole read the room, like, okay, we need to require this, where even our other younger son could be inside, playing. It's like, nope, you must go outside, like, and you must come on the family walk, like just some things of like, nope, this is healthy for you. Where another one might be like, okay, no more FaceTiming your friends for the next 2 hours. You need to get this done, And so I think it's just that being flexible and just understanding, each of them.
Mm-hmm. And then we have some just things that we said, you know what, like we want to be careful with screen time and other things like that. And so like during the school year, they don't get any screen time.
We're pretty
during the week, like they don't get media time. And so on the weekends, till they're junior in high school, they get a little bit more freedom, like an hour a day of media time. And so we've gone, you know what, they're back in school. Like, this is part of things. And so we don't want, because it's too easy just to veg out on Netflix and, whatever else, Instagram.
Or to watch television while doing homework.
Yeah.
Or watch television while they're in class.
And so we've kind of back instituted that same rhythm of like, yeah, during the week, this is going to encourage us to be doing other things. And so, I think we give them like an hour a day of media time right now, because they're home.
And they have no other social time, but yeah.
But even that's been good, because it's, it's challenged them to
do other things.
Like, we have somebody who's creative and is starting to write like a little book, and that's something that they wouldn't have time to do if they were in school right now. But now that there's space, and we're trying to be careful not to, because here's the thing, I'm bad about walking into the room and seeing them, like, even if they're doing homework, but I just see a screen in front of them, I'm like, what are you doing with your life? And I get all like inside, I'm like, ah. And so I have to be careful to not parent fail in those moments, and like how I respond really matters, and how to help them create rhythms rather than me barking at them of like, or making them feel bad for, wanting to, not be bored with their life right now. And so I'm realizing that for me, if I'm healthy and I invite them into things, that's been a real win too. So like middle of the afternoon, I'm working from home right now. So I'll come out and be like, I'm going to work out in the garage. Who's joining me? And I need to be careful not to expect anybody to come. But what's been cool is a ton of people come. Like 4 of them will jump out there with me and just do stuff with me. Or like, hey,
the other day, all 5 of us.
Yeah, we all went out there.
All did it together, like at 1:30.
But I need to not be attached to the expectation that anybody's going to do it with me. I just need to be healthy for me, and like family walk. It's like, hey, we're going on a family walk. Who's coming? Now there's a couple people that we nudge, right? But everybody else is like, yeah, I want to do that. I don't feel forced into that. That's become fun, and so, but I need to do it because it makes me healthy. And so I think we're realizing as parents, we have to be healthy. So we're taking morning walks by ourselves right now, and like do healthy rhythms for ourselves. Because if we're not healthy, we're going to be grumpy with them, which is a big deal.
Yeah. So Erin, you mentioned like, one of the things that you guys do is the high-low buffalo. And for the uneducated, that usually means different things to different people. But, what's the best part of your day, hardest part of your day, and then a random thing that's going on with you and something you just want to talk about or ask questions about. And that's the buffalo part, because it's a wild card, And but how do you guys keep things interesting around the house? Like, you said family walks. You're watching a show with the older kids. Is there anything else that you feel like, do you have to force yourself to kind of do that?
I like schedule, and I like deciding what that would be, especially, having a background in homeschool and just liking to to figure that out. So for our younger ones, so I would say like for elementary, who still need, maybe not sixth graders, but they still need some structure and some input on organizing their day, is I organize the day, for the littles. So we do school. I'm not a morning person, so this not having to be anywhere is a win for me. So we start school at 9:30. So that's enough time for me to wake up like a regular person, not with a, blaring alarm at 6 a.m., go on a walk, breakfast, whatever. And then school 9:30 to 11:30. And then usually Dave's been working, all morning in our office, which is in our bedroom. And he comes out and makes lunch. Then we kind of swap. He makes lunch for the little kids, and I work over the lunch hour. And then in the afternoon for the younger ones, I just make blocks of time. So I think part of it is that they know what to expect, and part of it is that there's something fun. So like with math, when we first started doing this, I was noticing it was just this struggle and whatever. So I decided, you know what? I'm not a reward with candy or that sort of person normally, but I'm like, we're in extenuating circumstances. So we have fruit snacks, which also is normally like a super treat. So it's like when you finish a section on your math, you get a fruit snack. Like this is for the little ones. And so even that's just been a fun, like, why not? Like, what is it going to hurt? Even if it was a piece of candy, like really we're going to be okay. And we need to find ways to make things a little bit different because this is different. And so, and then I have the older kids sometimes work with the younger kids on stations. So I'll set up some stations like puzzles or, string art or, coloring or whatever, and have the older kids help with the younger kids. Cause I think that's a really important thing, and a big benefit to having, more than one child, is that they can do stuff together, and it takes some pressure off the parents to always be the entertainers, and always be the ones, and especially with us having high schoolers and then, little ones, like they can do their math, so I'll set up a rotation with the kids, and it's just short. It's just like 15 minutes. But maybe it's Legos or watercolor or play with the dog or, anything really. Some part of it is what you want them to do and then what they think is fun, and kind of, mixing that up. And then in the afternoon, we're not big on screens with our little kids, but we have through our homeschool, they have Chromebooks that we can do some learning games on. And so they get an hour of learning games. They do an hour of room time. So part of it is just everyone having space. And so them having some quiet time in their room. They don't have to sleep because they're going to be 7 and 8. But you're alone, you can play quietly, you can read books, but you have to be in your room and you have to be quiet. So that's 1 hour. And just that gives me an hour of them not saying, Mom, I need it. What, Mom? All day. Like, what about this? And constantly doing that. So we and then I have an hour of outside time. Like, you must be outside unless it's raining. And even if it's raining, you can go play in the garage or you can play on the patio. It's not the middle of winter, luckily. So, and we do have 2 dogs. So it's like, they're so creative if we don't turn on the television, but then like something like this, like right now, it's like, we want them to be occupied. So right now we said, okay, we're doing this, interview, you can go watch TV. So kind of trying to reserve that time for, when it's really useful. Whereas on the weekend, maybe on a Saturday, we'll let them do a little bit more. So I think part of it is the structure, and part of it is putting in some fun things that maybe are a little bit, outside the norm.
Well, what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a big part of you feel like their success is you helping plan the day, and you being intentional about the rhythm of life that you're consistent with throughout the day, so that they know what to expect.
I think for elementary, it's really important, and obviously for little tiny kids, but I think part of it is sanity of the parent. Like, days are long when your kids are little. They just are, and they need things. And, even said snack time is 10:30. So you don't need to really ask me about snack at 9:30, because if snack time's at 10:30, but then you have to set an alarm on your phone so you don't forget. Like, part of, I think, as parents too, is we get busy or we get whatever, and we've set up what we've told them is like the schedule, and then we don't follow through, is also kind of a really dangerous place to be, because you're trying to have them depend on a schedule and then not being consistent. So I think that's one of the benefits of the phone is I have probably on a normal day or week, I have 10 alarms in a day so that, I follow through on what I said. So I think it's a good learning. This is a really good learning time for junior high and high schoolers. Like our oldest is a junior, he's going to be a senior next year. And we're like, this is kind of how college is. Like you have a class only once or twice a week. They don't have as many classes time-wise as they did, but then you're responsible for that work throughout the week. So this is almost kind of a practice for that. He's like, oh, okay, kind of getting them used to like, normally you'd go to a job or do other things, but I think it's a good time for our junior hires, middle schoolers and high schoolers to practice setting themselves on a schedule and saying, okay, I want you to make a schedule and it needs to have, these 6 things on it. And you tell me where you want to put it. And that's what I've done with my older homeschoolers is you don't need to tell me that right now is reading and in 10 minutes it's math. You tell me which subjects you want to do first, because everyone has different likes and passions and things that are like, oh, they have to be done, but maybe it's not the one that energizes them. Maybe you want to start with that so it's over for the day. Maybe you want to do that right after lunch because then you have more energy. So I think for the older children, kind of saying, let's make your schedule together. Like, let's learn how to do this. Right now, you go to class, you go to second period at 10:05 because they tell you be in second period at 10:05. Well, right now, that's all thrown out the window, and so kind of helping them. This is like a big kind of grown up moment of managing your time.
Yeah, letting them in on it and then, giving them some say within those boundaries, it sounds like is a good idea.
And giving them some time to figure it out. Like the other day, our son, I said, you need to mow the lawn and you need to do it by this time. So I didn't say you have to do it right now because he was doing something, but I said by 5:00, you need to mow the front lawn, just the front, whatever. And it was like 4:54. And I look out there, I'm like, dude, the front lawn, it's 4:54. He's like, oh my gosh, runs out there and he came in at 5:01. It was done. Well, now we know he can mow the lawn in 6 minutes, so.
That's awesome.
Trying to be fun.
Yeah.
Expecting them to be productive.
Yeah. Well, and a consistent thing that I've heard from families is like, those who nag don't ever really even get what they want. And so I think one of the themes of this is, okay, so you have to structure your lives in a new way. And then talking to Schultz and the Schultzes and the Bells, even they do this differently, but we've talked about spiritual leadership as well. And so I just wonder for you guys, what, it was interesting seeing the differences but the similarities in what they do. And if you guys could just speak to that briefly and feeling like, here's what we feel like our method of leading our kids spiritually is for the older ones in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that has been cool in the last couple of weeks is we've done like one-on-one dates with them, and so I think because we have the time right now, so like Erin took the girls last week and I took Cole last week, and like him and I ran an errand and went out to eat, and then it was just space to talk, space to like do those open-ended questions, not make everything like super spiritual, but like my heart. Our deal is to try to go after their hearts in that time and give them space to process what they want to go through. And there's 7 of us in the house, so having one-on-one time is rare. And so I think that's one of our intentional pieces. And so we're going to swap that up, and I'll take the girls this next time and she'll take, Cole this next time. And so I think she walked to coffee with the girls, which was great because we have a coffee shop nearby. And then I think, our family nights are a big deal. And so the fun thing with our family nights, I think, is everybody rotates. So like, and they, all of them have a spiritual element to them that they need to choose at dinner, to where we're processing, following Jesus together. We're even talking about how to utilize home church, where it rotates around who kind of leads the time for us. And so we're hoping to help our kids learn to lead in those areas. And so like family night, you're fully in charge of it, from what we're going to do at dinner, what we're going to talk about spiritually, through what we're going to do as an activity, all those kind of things. And so I think just trying to help them not always feel, because the older ones need to own it for themselves. Like it doesn't need to just be spoon fed anymore. And then I do think, a couple times a week, we use the Bible Project a lot. And so the videos they do are so great and for discussion. And so we'll show like 1 to 2 of those a week. and just watch them at dinner together. And then everybody talks about what they took away from it. And it's cool because the teenagers share, as well as the 8-year-old and 7-year-old, they process, and everybody's learned to really hear one another. And
I think the fun thing with that is we've been doing it for years. So the little ones have grown up hearing everybody talk about, like, their response to the video or the topic. Everybody shares. And so now they're genuinely sharing from what they think of the video, so that's been pretty cool.
So that's been a really great thing. And then we use, again, we use a quote jar at dinner where somebody pulls one out, and it's a different person that pulls one out each time, and they have to pull it out, they read it, and then they talk about how that impacts their lives or what they think that means. And then what's the application of that in our lives. And so those are some of the intentional things, that we're doing, and they're still connecting with their friends, in via their life groups, via Zoom and all those kind of things. And so there's still that community component. They're walking out with their friends. Different ones of our kids have established more of a daily routine of like reading scripture, and, other ones it's more a little bit spotty, and so I think just hearing that from them and, kind of encouraging that, but not trying to manage that. That's the dance in that area a little bit. But, our hope is that there's an intentional focus on Jesus as the heart of our family and the heart of their lives. And so we're trying to think of ways as a family to be focused on Christ. So
I think the trick too for us is the older 3 currently go to Fresno Christian School, which was not necessarily how we set out our life to go, but that's where we're at right now. And they have that as a requirement for school, so it's an interesting balance between that's a school subject and how do we want to be as a family, and even
I can see that.
Yeah. And then there's the church input. And so they have a lot of potential input, of from different aspects. Yeah. But we really want to focus more on the heart and like, how does that translate into being who God made you to be and to serving people around you, so.
That's great. Well, I feel like we really did it, guys. I think this, I really appreciate your guys' input and I guess just even me learning. I feel inspired to remember that the intentionality in my own family is so important. I only have a little baby guy, but, he still learns from me in the way he watches me, and the rhythms I create with my wife now, he'll learn as he starts to understand that stuff. So I appreciate you guys. So again, this is my best friend in the world, Erin, and her husband, Dave. Yeah. And if you guys want to get a hold of them in any way, you guys can always reach out to Dave just for advice or anything like that, and he'll connect you, Dave at thewellcommunity.org. And we appreciate you guys.
Hey, can I say something else, Jordan, real quick? Man, I just want to affirm, you and all the leaders that work with our students. I think I tell you this in person quite a bit, but I think it's fun to be able to say it now, with maybe some other people watching. But the opportunity to have other adults in our kids' lives, like I know that they're sharing some things with other people, like their life group leaders, that they maybe don't feel comfortable to share with us. And I think that's fantastic. And I love, Jordan, your heart to partner with us as parents. And so even the fact that you're doing this, I think is huge. I didn't grow up in settings where that was the partnership like this, where it's like, yeah, we're processing this together, and we care about these students, our kids, and, students that are under you in partnership. And so, man, I'm just super thankful. And if you're watching this and you're a life group leader, like, thank you. It matters. And sometimes it probably feels super awkward to be on calls with teenagers who aren't saying much, and, but the consistency and the fact that they know that they have other adults in their lives who genuinely take interest and care about them, and pray that they like understand they're loved by Christ and have a purpose in life and those kind of things. So just thanks. I just really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I know I'll probably cut that clip out and send it to all my leaders. So yeah, I appreciate it. I think, in ministry, sometimes there's so many things unappreciated, and it's even more so for volunteers at times. So.
Well, and for both of us growing up, excuse me, the youth leaders changed our lives. Like them being available, neither one of us were in homes where that was that's not the kind of support we received, even though we have great families. And like I lived and died on what was available at the church that my parents didn't go to. And so I 100%, we know they will talk to you guys about stuff. So being available for that is huge. And we really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Obwalds. You guys are awesome. And we'll see you guys next week for parent time with whoever.